Oh, have we all been there when our kids do something that makes our blood boil? We get so incredibly frustrated when they make a choice that they know is not okay, or at least it seems like they should know that it's not okay because we have told them 1,000 times. What we tend to do is go right to correction mode. We want to lecture, make sure they know what they did was not okay. However, the science shows us that doesn't work. And if you're a parent, you probably recognize that it doesn't work for you either. Either your kids shut down or they fight back, then everyone's screaming, and it's just a big hot disaster in your house. If this is something that you would love to work on, please go to www.raisingkidswithpurpose.com/chat. And I love to hear more because this is exactly why I built my Purpose Parent Transformation Program. Now, let's get in today's episode that's all about how to connect before you correct. Why should we connect before we correct? It seems very counterintuitive, especially if you grew up in a very authoritarian style parenting household where you were to say or do as your parents said and not as they do, which, as we know, that doesn't work because little tiny brains are wired to mirror big people's brains and their caregivers' brains. Or if you were in an environment where you had to do what your parents said, no matter what, if not, you got in trouble. You may not have been allowed to express your feelings. When I say connect before you correct, it may feel very foreign, almost as if you are just giving in to your kids' emotional meltdowns, which, again, if you're an adult listening to this, chances are that was not okay when you were growing up. But I would guess if you are having a tough time, maybe you had a rough day, if you're working and something didn't go well, if you're raising littles and there was poop and snacks and food and you just felt so overwhelmed, I'm going to guess you would love to have someone meet you with connection first instead of correcting all the things that you didn't do well. Kids are even more so needing this connection than us adults. And the neuroscience backs this up. It's because our kids' frontal lobes, that is the part that makes good decisions, logic, reasoning, all the executive function skills, organization, time management. What we want our kids' brains to be fully developed in is extremely underdeveloped. And really, what is more developed is that downstairs brain, that emotional part of their brain. When they do something which causes them to be flooded with stress, or it could even look like them laughing at you, running around, just not listening. When that happens, their frontal lobe is offline and their emotional brain is in charge. What we want to do is to connect so that we can get that upstairs brain online before we go into correction mode. This may take some work for yourself to be able to calm down because it's really hard to connect if you're in a state of stress yourself or you're completely pedoed. Is that something that most people say? Or maybe it's a Pittsburgh term. You're really mad. And it is very hard for you to want to connect. Work on that first. And then what we're going to talk about today are some other ways that are super practical, very simple, that you can do to get your child's thinker brain back online. And it really helps them want to listen to you instead of resist everything that's coming out of your mouth. You have probably heard how we should give a lot more positives than negatives. I have covered here on the podcast, I'll put it in the show notes, on why Praise isn't necessarily the best thing. However, we do want to focus on our kids' strengths, focus on the positive attributes, positive characteristics, and build that up instead of tearing them down. Again, I'm going to guess this is how you like to be treated because I know it's how I like to be treated as well. Okay, let's get into the tools. Tool number one is empathy. I'm not talking just sympathy. Oh, I'm understanding that they're upset right now, but I really don't get it. It's just a blue cup. Why do they even care? Empathy is really looking as if you are in their shoes. And that blue cup, I'm telling you, is really, really important that you get it. And you can feel that, embody that. That is how we show up with empathy. Tool number two is to get below their eye level. This is something you can test. Have your partner or a friend that is bigger than you. They don't even really have to be bigger than you. You could be sitting down. Have them stand and tower over you, stare down at you, and tell you to do something. Feel what that feels in your body. For me, it's extremely uncomfortable. This goes for our little ones as well. We're constantly towering over them because they're just not as big as we are. My 14-year-old actually just told me 2 days ago how he thinks it's so weird he's looking down on me now. He is just so used to looking up to his parents, and it's really shifting the way he views us, takes instructions. He is recognizing this, which is really cool. If you get below eye level, it communicates safety. Now, that's what this connection is all about, is neurological safety. We want our kids' brains to feel incredibly safe and trusted with us before we go into correction. With getting below their eye level, that is what this provides versus having someone towering over you. Also, pay attention to what your face looks like. This is something I was totally called out on when visiting or testing out some therapists trying to see if it would be a good fit for my son. She paused. It was very gentle, but I will never forget this. Sitting on the couch with her in her therapist's office, she looks at me and says, "You need to relax this." I am pointing to the part of my forehead that is in between my eyeballs and in between my eyebrows. I apparently, and if you go on YouTube and watch my videos, I'm very expressive. Kids monitor your faces subconsciously. We want to make sure we look as safe as possible. And this may be something that you may need to work on by looking in the mirror, which is what I needed to do. The third tool is limit your words and listen. Zip it and turn your ears on. Oh goodness, this one is quite challenging for me. However, if I can really focus on my body and my face and getting low, maybe even lowering my voice, sometimes I will bring it so quiet to a whisper. If I have a kid who's screaming and yelling and frustrated and so loud that they can't even hear me, I will start to whisper, and it forces them to have to quiet down in order to hear what I'm saying. Now, sometimes they don't want to hear what I'm saying. Something else you can do is get really low in your voice. I was just at summer camp. We had 8 girls in the room, all teenagers. They were loud and talking and laughing. I got really low in my voice. First of all, they started dying laughing at me because they thought it was weird. Secondly, they all started to listen to me. A lot of times our voices get really high whenever we are in correction mode. Bring it low to a lower tone. It's easier for our kids' brains to register what we are saying. The fourth tool is become a sportscaster. This is a great way to connect with our kids because You are helping them feel seen, heard, and understood. Core needs that we all have. By becoming a sportscaster, what you're doing is simply narrating what you see with zero judgments. This is the number one tool to work for getting your kids to stop fighting. A lot of times we tend to pick one side versus the other, the one that is probably interrogating everything or that is causing, quote unquote, all of the issues with the other sibling. Narrate, because they have a need to feel connected and seen and validated as well, because they don't have the skills to recognize that their behavior is probably not the best. When you are in the heat of the moment and starting to feel frustration rise in your body and you want to correct your child, I encourage you to do these 4 practical things. In summary, the first one is to empathize. In order to figure out if you do have empathy, think back to your reactions with your kids. Are you really looking at it from their point of view? Or are you looking at it from your adult point of view and you really don't think it's as big of a deal as they do? The second is to get below their eye level. Pay attention to your nonverbal body language. Pay attention to how you are showing up in that moment, because your child is reading that even if they don't recognize it. 3 is to zip it and listen. You can also actively listen, which is number 4, is the sportscasting, where you can integrate both of these tools. Is actively listening is as they're talking, you're just repeating back or you're narrating what you see, what is going on, so that they feel fully seen, heard, and understood. Now, there is nuance to this. You may have a child that these things don't seem to help. That is why I have created a parent-child program where I work not only with you and you learn all of these tools, and it's not just about learning the tools, but it's about actually practicing and doing them and embodying them and showing up in this way where you're not yelling and screaming and being reactive or running away. Instead, you're able to know what to do, have the confidence, feel calm in your body when these things happen. And I also work with your child to build these skills. All behavior is communication. Most of the time, kids simply just don't have the skills. You can work on them, and then it's super fun for them to do it with someone else in a very fun, playful way, so that it starts to make sense to them and they can start using these skills and these tools themselves. So, work on these things to connect first. If something just doesn't seem like it's working and you're like, I'm doing all the things, then jump on raisingkidswithpurpose.com/chat and let's talk about it. I hope that these simple tools can help you learn how to connect before you correct. And then over time, your kids will hopefully listen better and you will have a much stronger relationship, especially when they become adults. Until next time, go raise those kids with purpose.